though, Kongdoo got some ground back. They just couldn't keep up with SKT as the game kept going on.
We'll see if they have a different strategy here on red side. Maybe they want to ban out something totally different. As Helios was saying, maybe you just leave all the OP champs open and see what happens.
Well, last time around, Kongdoo Monsters tried to really target ban Faker. This time they're on red side, so they're going to have to ban away the Rengar and the Camille. Although sometimes I've said that, and interestingly enough, teams have opted to leave Camille and Rengar open. But I feel like Camille is a champion you don't want to give to Huni, and then Rengar you definitely don't want to give to Peanut.
Yeah, and just a fan sign about the mustache of Bang. We saw Binu is really excited to see where that mustache could go, how far he will bring it. Maybe that's the source of power for SKT.
Jace as the final ban, and so now what is SKT going to pick first? There's the Camille ban. Now this might lead SKT to just take the Malzahar as the first pick, and I say that because Wolf showed a very good ability on it last game. It offers the engage, it offers disengage, it offers pick, and there's always the possibility that you can flex it into Faker.
Yeah, I like the pick. Definitely a good choice for that first pick.
Zyra banned away, Malzahar picked. It does leave the question of a support MF. And
before the words could even come out of your mouth, LS.
Yeah, well, and that basically helps shut down the Malzahar to a certain extent. But the problem is that Jhin and Varus are still on the table, and if you pick the Jhin first, you could just walk into an Ashe. That's a very scary level 6. Instead, last second they swap over to the Lee Sin. That's something I wasn't expecting. Lee Sin is 0-9 in LCK Spring 2017. The other problem with the Lee Sin is it's an engaged champion, and you're picking that into a Malzahar, and now they're hovering Jhin.
I don't really know what to gain from this. Many members of Kongdoo kind of laughing. I hope they're taking this seriously, and they're coming into this one trying to win up against SKT, because an 0-9 Lee Sin so far, and just really no success on that champion.
Probably going to be Ashe here to respond to the Jhin, and yeah, as you were saying, 0-9 Lee Sin so far, not having the most success, but Punch does like the physical damage versus physical damage matchup. The other option here actually would have been Peanut's Elise, but the problem is if they're still entertaining the flex for the Malzahar, or if they're still entertaining the flex for the Malzahar into mid lane, and then you don't put Huni on a physical damage top laner, then you have too much physical damage. So they go with the Kha'Zix, and we'll have a Kha'Zix versus Lee Sin matchup.
See if Blank can play to the same level here, coming in as the sub. We do have the Cass pick up here for Kongdoo Monster as they go into their 4th ban.
Cassiopeia is taken away, and we might see them try to ban away Corki here. And now, with Kongdoo Monsters not banning away or picking him, okay, SK Telecom is obviously going to ban it away, as it's one of the few supports that can resist against Malzahar. This still does leave open the possibility for Kongdoo Monsters to pick Tahm Kench. It's not a champion that Guger would be opposed to playing.
That sign just said that Huni said, you know, if you're good at LoL, you can play tanks just as well as dealers, so it doesn't really matter. We got another taste of that in the last game.
So now the Orianna bans away, that targets Faker. Orianna, one of the few champions that most considered to be a soft counter to Cassiopeia. And SK Telecom hovering the Poppy. And now Kongdoo Monsters, they're facing a Malz, an Ashe, and a Kha'Zix. So you really need to protect your backline, and with Poppy being banned away, I feel like your options are going to be Maokai or Nautilus.
Deciding to go with the Maokai, and Gangplank being hovered here.
And one of the things that Kongdoo Monsters team comp is missing is hard CC, so we might see Faker actually go for what he picked last series, Katarina.
Here we go. And he looked so stellar on that Katarina. It is huge, and he's going to go for it once again, to the delight of all the fangirls and all the fans around the world.
Interesting. Kongdoo Monsters highlighting Lulu. So it's not quite the Zilean, it's not the Tahm Kench, but if Faker goes in, or Peanut, Lulu's going to be able to ult whoever is getting basically pounced on by either Faker or Peanut, and that'll actually interrupt their ability to kill them. Not quite sure if it's going to have the same impact as the Zilean pick that we got to see earlier on in the day, but it is still interesting nonetheless. We're getting to see some diversity here and a lot of synergy with Punch and Roach.
Very interesting, bringing in the new picks. You gotta try to mix up something when you're going up against SKT, especially Faker's Katarina. You need to hard lock that down. We do have, of course, double exhausts, no doubt, for the side of Kongdoo Monster to deal with that too. So see what they can get. Hopefully some good ults out of Lulu, or perhaps kicks out of Punch, can deal with that Katarina. They want to shut it down hardcore.
Yep. We're going to have to see what Punch's Lee Sin can do. I know he loves physical versus physical jungler matchups, but Peanut... Oh, Blank. I did not realize that.
Yep, Blank was...
There was no name tag. All right. So it is Blank, actually, and not Peanut. And that actually changes things up quite a bit. That does change things up. Blank probably going to be much more focused to just escorting Faker, as he commonly did in the past, and he does have a tendency to actually favor the top half of the map, so that's going to actually play into aiding gameplay.
We'll see what he can do, jumping into game number 2 of SKT versus Kongdoo Monster.
This place stays the same. What we're gonna do in the pouring rain.
Kongdoo trying to fight back in the fan war. The louder cheers coming out as they want to tell their team to do a bit better against the Titans of SKT.
And so now both teams just fanning out yet again. This has been the most common opening in LCK Spring 2017. No one wanting to get too aggressive, although Huni going to benefit a lot more from this than Roach will because of the Bandit Mastery. Actually picks up that 10 gold.
Pretty cool. And
some poke happening in bottom lane. Nothing too big though, not like we're going to see a forced recall occur.
Cougar really wants to try to make that passive work for him, perhaps. And just dancing around, nothing too big. And looks like Punch looking to start at his red, whereas Blank looking to start at his blue, going to get help from the top lanes.
So now if we're looking at the team compositions here, Kongdoo Monsters have a bit slower of a wake up in the mid game in terms of their itemization, but if they can reach it to the very later stages of the game, it will help a lot against the Kha'Zix, the Ashe, the Malzahar, and the Katarina. But the problem is that Gangplank, especially in Korea, is actually considered by many to be the hardest scaling champion in the game. And so SK Telecom does have that out, no matter how bad the situation could get.
Yeah, it begins to do insane amounts of damage later on, and definitely kind of a pocket trump card. Uh-oh, Cougar may have overstepped his boundaries here. He is so close to dying, but it looks like SKT not going to commit here. And look at that, Faker winning a trade here against Edge in the mid lane. Looks like the exhaust was burned as well as the ignite.
Very slippery matchup. Faker did not elect to try to zone Edge out of more CS. Oh, they have to be really careful here. Excellent discipline, though, by Sol and Cougar. Noticing that the Voidlings won't catch up, so no heal used.
Oh, look at this. I don't think Blank knows that Punch is in the brush here. And Punch is thinking about going for it, but he shows himself. And now kind of just has to awkwardly back off. Not much going to happen there in the mid lane.
Not much going to happen indeed. Both junglers went for a 3-camp clear, but Blank is the one to get the Scuttle Crab, and that's that sort of mid assistance that I was talking about earlier on. Now he's going to make his way over back to the left-hand side of the map, able to read the CS count of Punch, know what camps he has and hasn't cleared. So now there's a very real possibility that Punch might try to make something happen in top, and that's why we see Blank moving onto the left-hand side, and he's just keeping tabs on Punch.
And even trying to go on into him there, doing a bunch of damage, forcing him back. You see Blank still at full health. Going to use a Scrying Orb, going to see, Scrying Plant rather. Just going to take out this ward with that. Back off.
And already, the lanes for SK Telecom are going very well. Up in top lane, Huni at a very big CS advantage. And then to make matters worse, he has the Bandit Mastery on Gangplank. So, no idea what that could be at. Faker.
He wants it. He's got to be careful, though. The poison coming in. One last auto attack, just barely not enough. And Faker gets away. Calculated.
Calculated, indeed. Oh, man. Faker barely gets away. Edge cannot feel good about that.
Well, here's Wolf coming from the side. Doing a bit of damage. Call from the Void. Going to help out in that. And Guger continuing to take a beating, but still holding his own down there in bot. And here comes Punch.
And Punch is in bottom lane, waiting to make something happen. I feel like Guger is making this obvious, though.
Trying to beat it. Bang takes a step forward, blocked by the Void Link. Not this time, Punch.
Excellent timing there by Wolf on that Malzahar. Blank now down in bottom. Gonna just go and farm his golems. And what this will line up to do is he relieves pressure from bottom lane. They know that Sol and Guger are going to recall, and now he can make his way back over to the left-hand side of the map. So just taking a quick look again here at this trade between Faker and Edge. And you can see that Faker probably didn't anticipate how that trade was going to go to that degree and almost ended up paying for it. And had he died right there, mid lane would just shift completely.
Oh, yeah. You can see that even though he did not go down, he still had to back off, and Cassiopeia is up 10 CS. And nice read from Faker. I don't think they had much vision around that area, but saying that, okay, I need to back off and play it very carefully from here on out. They could be trying to really snowball the lane for Edge.
Well, the thing in mid lane is Faker realized that he had, well, there was more spellcaster minions for Edge's side of the minion wave, so he knows that the wave's coming into him, so he's saying, okay, I'll lose one or two and just play safe, because if I try to get all of the CS, I'll end up taking too much of a beating in terms of HP.
Really excited to see how that Lulu's going to play out a little bit later on in the game. Right now in the lane, it seems like she's doing okay against that Malzahar. Really even in terms of the CS for both AD carries, 47 to 48. And they're just trading back and forth. No kills have come down. I wonder, you know, they're probably going to try to focus down that Lulu instead of the Jhin, because, you know, Lulu could try to get up in there, use Wild Growth to interrupt the Nether Grasp. It's going to be interesting to see once those fights begin after level 6.
Punch now with his red buff, gonna take golems. Unsure if that's gonna level him up. If it does, then he might look to make his way up to top lane. Seems that the lane is shoving into Roach. 2 spellcaster minions versus 1, and then the 2 for Huni will end up living, so this is guaranteed to push. And Huni probably just wants to shove this wave and then get back. Blank is too far away for any sort of a counter or match gank.
You saw a question mark ping go directly onto where Punch was. They don't have any wards up there, but they know that he's there somehow, some way. Just based on the pathing that you've been talking about. And here he comes now. There is a control ward. But I think Huni's just out of range out of that. Oh, he's going to be flashed on top of it. Here comes Punch. The ultimate coming in. And Huni is trying to turn on here. He's going to be kicked away. And Roach almost going down to that. And Huni, it looks like he's going to get away.
Yeah, and Punch can't move on because they don't have any intel on where Blank was. And so now Blank and Faker down here in bottom. Sol and Guger making a run for it. Edge trying to get there. Blank just going to end up taking the Gromp. And in a very weird turn of events, SK Telecom actually gets really far ahead off that attempted gank in top lane.
Really good read from the bot lane of Kongdoo, too, to just back off, saying, okay, we don't know where they are. They could be coming in. Let's take a look at this replay.
So Roach gives away that Punch is here because he neglects the cannon minion and the remaining minions of the wave. Huni realizes that, okay, if I try to run, they're going to catch me and I can't do anything about it. So he makes a final stand there with the Gangplank ultimate and the barrels, and he puts out so much damage that they can't keep the gank going. Otherwise, Roach would go down and it would just be a 1-for-1 trade. And so in that scenario, because Punch was tied up in top lane, he couldn't then follow on to Huni because they didn't have any intel about the enemy jungler.
Blank ulting in, not going to be able to get much as Lee Sin just safeguards away. And it's just going to back off here, not really going to be able to find much. They really wanted to put on some pressure. The Mountain Drake is up here. You can see a nice push going on so far for the SKT bot lane too. Faker, he wants to go for the fight here onto Edge. He dodges the ultimate, but the exhaust coming in, and the Sonic Wave is going to be landed. First blood goes over to Cassiopeia. Oh man, Blank gonna miss that too. He's trying to turn around. Perhaps he wants to jump in, miss Sonic Wave this time around, or else perhaps Kongdoo could have turned that into a 2-for-0, but nice play there.
Really nice play by Kongdoo Monsters, but the mechanics from Faker were, it was almost not human.
Well, people have called him a robot in the past.
So they will pick up a kill there, and the CS leading mid continues to get bigger, but let's take a quick look at it again. You can see Edge trying to come in here, and then Faker dodges the ult so well. He tries to make it over to Blank. Blank tries to salvage the kill onto Edge, unable to. Edge flashed away right there at the last second.
So, really nice mechanics, but not able to, oh, I'll hold that thought. Huni's going in onto Roach. The ultimate comes down. Fire away, but Roach will get away. Tanky enough, but he might be pushed out of lane here as Huni continues to push this one in.
And the real problem that Kongdoo Monsters are having is up in this top lane, this Gangplank is not being hurt at all. So he's getting a free ride into the mid game where that Bandit and all the parley gold, it's just adding up more and more and more. And the gold lead is in SK Telecom's favor, despite Kongdoo Monsters getting the first blood goal and the CS deficit in mid.
Faker wants to put on a show, dodging poison after poison. Edge really needs to be careful about that. You could see just how much Punch is staying around mid lane because he knows that Faker is going to go very aggressive. He knows that this is going to come down. But then again, it looks like SKT wants to make this happen. Chana Crystal Arrow hits Lee Sin in the brush. Edge gets jumped on. There's the Nether Grass. And down goes Punch as well. A 2-for-0. SKT turning it around.
Yeah, that was a 2-for-0. And the Enchanted Crystal Arrow hitting Punch was basically a novelty shot. I think it was intended for Edge.
Yeah.
I don't believe the ward was in the brush yet. So they pick up 2 kills, takes all the pressure off of mid lane. Faker's now going to catch up in the CS score. And meanwhile, in bottom lane, Bang, I think he's going to get first blood turret here. Oh, not yet.
So close. Maybe 3 more hits would have done it. Meanwhile, Faker and Blank, they're trying to compete with Bang for that first blood turret. And I think they are going to win this time around. So there you go. Mid turret going to go down.
They get mid turret, and that opens up the map considerably, which is very good for Katarina. Now it looks like they're moving up to Punch's red buff. There's no vision here for Punch.
And it looks like he has seen him now, trying to get in on there onto that red buff. Have to be so careful. And this is eventually going to go over to Huni. Looks like going to make that top lane even more one-sided than it already is.
Really careful here, Bang and Wolf, but Cougar taking a lot of damage.
Oh, forced to wild growth to save his own life, and will be forced to back off after that. So I'm sure they can push this in if they know where Punch is at and probably get another turret. Let's see this setup, man.
Yep, so they didn't know that Punch was in the brush, I don't think. I feel like that was intended for Edge, but you know, it's a 2-for-1, and so they end up getting Edge, and that was just a beautiful setup by SK Telecom. And Kongdoo Monsters didn't see it coming.
Here's this turret going to go down. Bang will clean that up. And SKT continue winning their games by landslides. It's now 4,500 gold going over to SKT. Huni is unbelievably farmed right now. Faker, he hasn't had the super dominant mid lane so far, but they were able to turn it around in that last fight and really get him on par with Cass right now. Bang is leading by 20 CS in the bot lane too. And SKT just in total control of this map right now.
Oh!
Gonna go in onto Sol. Bang wants that solo kill. The heal gonna come in. Wolf is gonna go by himself. Nether Grasp onto Lulu. And here comes Blang and Faker able to try to clean this up, and down goes Cassiopeia. Faker's not done. Gonna jump in onto Lulu. Down goes another. Sol, will he be able to get that final kill? Yes, he will. Double kill over to Faker. And that is 4 members of Kongdoo going down at 14 minutes into the game. As SKT say, get out of my game.
Yep, SK Telecom telling them to get out indeed, and Faker is so good on this Katarina pick. And he's just moving around so elegantly, and now they're going to get the Mountain Drake. They shove the wave into Tier 2 bottom, so just take a look at this again. Wolf comes in, hits Cougar with the Malefic Visions and the Call of the Void. Nethergrass comes down, and even though Punch and Edge were here, it didn't matter. Exhaust went down way too late onto Faker, and then Bang able to get the final kill onto Edge. Faker said, oh, give me a second, I didn't pick up my knife yet.
Yeah, give me the knife, I'll get the kill too. And there he goes, and Wolf is coming up to top really fast. Does not have Nethergrass, but is going to push Roach out of the lane. Again, they're just going to switch it up here. They're going to send Huni down to bot lane.
Yep. They know that sending Huni down to bottom now is going to be the safest lane to put him. There's no neutral objective. There's no real incentive for Kongdoo Monster to devote resources to that side of the map. And he's going to be able to just safely farm out and continuously get gold. Meanwhile, Bang and Wolf are going to begin to immediately start attacking the last remaining outer turret for Kongdoo Monsters.
That should go down very quickly. You can see how much Huni has already pushed in that wave. And now it seems like Kongdoo is trying to go for Huni, but Huni knows about this. He's like, okay, they're probably going to come down here. It's not safe for me to hang around this turret. They're going to have to give away that kill and take the turret.
Right, and this is what I was talking about, where yes, you just brought 4 members down to bottom and you willingly handshake on a trade that's now going to cost you your top tier 2 turret and a lot of pressure on your middle tier 2 turret. And it's just not an investment that you should have wanted to have made, but you did. And so now SK Telecom, no strangers to punishment, are punishing Kongdoo Monsters for these macro decisions.
Yeah, SKT continues to get farther ahead. Now 6,000 gold ahead. That middle turret didn't go down, but it's at about 1/3 health now. And Faker just even hanging around for a couple more cheeky hits on the tower, even in the face of Cass. Now SKT is going to make that rotation, just barely missing Roach there.
Barely missed indeed. Gangplank ultimate. Oh, he dodged again!
Unbelievable. He's got to get over the wall here, though, as Edge is going to get the poison and the movement speed boost. But here comes Blank from the top. I think Edge is just dead either way, and it's going to go over to Faker. Another kill over to this Katarina.
And meanwhile, now Bang waiting in mid lane. It's just Guga to defend. Wolf might just come from behind. He does have those mobility boots and close the gaps really quickly to just get that Nethergrass ball.
Yeah, he's unbelievably fast at this point, and you can see that Kongdoo, they cannot defend that turret. They just have to back off. And Huni continuously pushing bot. Does have his teleport up for whenever they do need him.
Now they're going to pick up this Rift Herald. About 17.5-minute Rift Herald. Probably going to last for the entire game if it does go that length. And it looks like they're going to put it onto Blank. And this is something SK Telecom's done now twice. Oh, is Faker going to get it? He didn't pick it up, but taking a look at this replay, you can see that Faker going for the kill onto Edge with the ultimate from Huni. Juking the spells right at the end. It didn't matter anyway. Blank was just over the horizon, and Faker gets up and gets the kill anyway.
Yeah. Trying to make something work, even in dire situations. But Faker, he wants more blood. He's got to get that KDA up. And here he comes, jumping on in. Soul losing half his health. Here comes the wild growth, and they're going to try to turn it on to Faker. Now 3 members of Kongdoo Monster trying to make that work, and uh-oh, that may have been a mistake. Blank coming on in. Here's Faker. The TP coming in from Huni. They don't even need him at this point. Oh, nice play from Punch, though. Whoa. He's going to get out of there somehow, some way.
Punch does manage to survive.
That was pretty cool. The kick into the Sonic Wave, into the safeguard onto the minion, and then the flash.
Oh, that damage from Huni. Roach not able to do anything. Kongdoo Monsters have to concede this turret. No Baron yet, or you could bet that SK Telecom would probably get it right now.
Yeah, this is just a slaughter, man. We're 18 minutes into the game. They're 9,000 gold ahead. Every member of SKT is super far ahead of their counterpart on the side of Kongdoo Monster.
just cleaning up the lanes right now. Dragon coming up in 2 minutes, Baron in 1. Not quite sure if we'll make it to the Dragon.
Well, Punch, he does get grasp here. Is going to try to safeguard away. Does get the slow from the volley, and there you go. Faker picks up another kill, but he wants more. Cougar going to eat some damage, and Faker not able to get another kill just yet.
Faker now picking up the wave in top. Meanwhile, I mean, you can just look at Kongdoo Monsters. They're scrambling to try to defend because it almost feels like SK Telecom is everywhere. And even if they wanted to somehow take a team fight, you can't really do anything to Huni. He went for that tanky variation. Roach coming in for a flank. We'll see what happens.
Well, it seems like SKT is going to engage first. Edge is going to be bursted down. Does get the ultimate. Look at that. Soul has to run away from Wolf right now. Roach trying to do something here, but just going to save Soul, it seems, and that's about it. Both Cougar and Edge go down in that trade. And Faker looks like he wants to jump in again. Nice kick to get him away. Blank trying to get the follow-up, but not quite enough.
They get mid inhibitor, and now they're making their way up to top. They do have a minion wave there, not too much, but might be enough to get the turret with the Voidlings.
This looks like one of those solo queue games where you're just like, okay, we're so far ahead, let's just end this. Like, let's just go on to the next game, you know? We want to go home early, says SKT, so might as well just rotate up, get another turret. We're this far ahead.
SK Telecom playing dynamic queue yet again, not sure what edition this is.
And Soul's gonna open on up with that curtain call. And just delay some backs, I suppose, but Punch is on the chase. I honestly don't think that even with the perfect engage, Kongdoo Monster can fight this one right here.
No, they might go for a Hail Mary Baron. And it seems like SKT sniffing that out. They do recall right in front of it, and that's gonna prevent Kongdoo Monsters from going for that. Even if they tried to wait and delay, and let's assume this is a blasting plant there and they all try to blast over at once, there's the hawk shot from Ash coming out of Bang that would follow that up.
13,000 gold ahead is SKT. Another Mountain Drake to make the Baron pick off, perhaps even that much easier.
So we can just take a look at this replay, and this is just a classic case of an 80 carry being too out of position, pushed up a little too far. Faker capitalizing on that, wanted the kill. Soul didn't realize the curtain call would be his own. And meanwhile, Blank here, and what Punch's escape was really nice.
That was the most impressive part of this entire fight, actually. Gotta hand it to Punch. He knows how to play that champion, and, well, unless Kongdoo can pull off a miracle here, Faker, hold that thought, he's gonna try to turn around. Oh, Sonya's gonna make it even harder to take him out, but he will eventually go down, but trade his life for another turret, perhaps even two. But on the back of this, if Kongdoo Monster do lose, as it does look like that is the case, Lee Sin is going to be 0-10 so far in LCK Spring.
Yeah, indeed it is. And, oh, hold on, it looks like Roach and Punch might want to go in on this.
Wolf getting really low, could try to jump on in there. They do get Wolf, but look at Bang in the back, really just pushing out a ton of damage, but the ult coming out of Cassiopeia. And in fact, is going to take out Bang. Huni's still alive, somehow, some way. Bang going to slow them all, and they cannot follow up, but at least a winning team fight for Kongdoo. Yeah,
winning team fight indeed. Faker was not present, but it still came at the cost of almost losing 2 turrets. But a victory nonetheless. Now, with 2 Mountain Drakes, SK Telecom certainly going to have their eyes set on the Baron. We'll take another quick look at that replay, and you can see that Roach and Punch want to go in here. Huni casts his ultimate to try to dissuade Kongdoo Monsters, but they're not having it. And the amount of damage coming out is just way too much. Blank able to get a kill onto Punch right there at the very end, but still a victory nonetheless for Kongdoo Monsters.
Trying to set something up onto Faker. Is Cougar here? It will be sniffed out. And is SKT gonna let Kongdoo Monster take that red buff? Nope. Doesn't look like that. The entire map is SKT's. The arrow, that last second flash out of Cougar is going to be dodged.
Now all the SKTs, oh, hold on, Blank.
Blank taking a ton of damage, forced to flash away. At least getting one of the summoners off of him, I suppose.
All that they're doing right now is they're pushing through Kongdoo Monster's red side jungle. They're going to clear out vision, make sure that they escort them back to their base, let Huni split push in bottom lane, and it just sets up for a perfect Baron.
That's what they're trying to make happen here. Look at all the vision in this jungle that is not here for Kongdoo Monster, and all the vision that SKT has.
All the vision indeed. Punch and Guger trying to fight back in the vision war, but they're not finding any success, and they're on a clock because meanwhile in bottom lane, it's only a matter of time until Huni gets that turret.
Yeah, he can probably swipe it at a couple of times with how farmed he is in the double Mountain Drake. Probably get that turret. Yep, there it is. Gets the turret, and they are going to go for the Baron. There's nothing that Kongdoo can do. They can't even get close to the Baron right now. There you have it. Baron going over to SKT. Bot turret already down. Mid inhibitor is down. Both other inhibitors are still wide open. Oh, there's the arrow onto Edge in the back, and there comes the cannon. Huni trying to get onto Edge. Nice ultimate to try to save Edge here. But now Roach is going to be jumped on. He's all alone. Curtain call. Nethergraph to get that kill onto Roach, and there he does. Going to block this one for Huni and not let him die to the curtain call. So now they can try to end it here or go for all the inhibitors. The world is SKT's oyster as they push in for another extremely dominant 2-0 victory over another team here in Kongdoo Monster.
I don't think Kongdoo Monster is going to be able to defend against this. SK Telecom just being a little bit safe here, getting that final inhibitor. Huni does have teleport, so it's not like he's leaving. He'll be back in a second, probably going to wait for the minion to begin tanking turret aggro, and then he'll teleport to that one.
Yep, there you go. And that will be the second Nexus turret going down. This is the last stand for Kongdoo Monster, if they do even make a what? Where'd he go? I didn't see him. Punch, he's going to make another great escape. Doesn't matter. SKT, is Faker going to get some more kills for his KDA? It looks like, actually, Soul's going to add to his, as down goes the Nexus, and SKT takes another 2-0 victory.
Yeah, and the way that they took this game was way better than game number one. This was from start to finish, absolute annihilation. There's no other way to put it. They were constantly outpacing their opponents. The only hope that Kongdoo Monsters had was in mid, where Edge had a slight CS advantage, but it didn't matter because the amount of pressure that Bang and Wolf were putting on in bottom lane, and the fact that Huni was just demolishing Roach up in top.
Yeah, and you can see the smiles, or the smirks rather, on some of the faces of the Kongdoo members. It's kind of disbelief. They're like, okay, we just got smashed. It's almost like a bit of embarrassment, you know? They're just like, oh god, that felt awful. And how are you going to feel good going up against this team and getting wrecked in that manner? Well, SKT looking to be one of the stronger teams here. Can't wait until they face off against KT, another one of the strongest teams with the superstar lineup. I believe that does happen in March?
Yep.
I know Papa Smithy has mentioned it a bunch of times. I think it's March 2nd. So definitely mark that on your calendars if I am correct on that date, because that is going to be a sick matchup.
That is going to be a super sick matchup. Two telecoms colliding, and I feel like that is probably the most anticipated match of LCK Spring so far, because a lot of people are going to be curious if the new KT roster can go up against SK Telecom and try to dethrone them, because that's what the super team is intended to do. It's meant to overthrow SK Telecom's hold over South Korea.
It could happen, you know. I think it's going to be very close. I think it should go to 3 games when they do hit each other. But either way, SKT is looking incredibly strong. I feel like we're not going to know until they actually play against each other, because right now both of these two teams are just crushing whoever they come into contact with, and it doesn't seem like any other team in the entire league really is up on their level right now. So, as I said, we just got to wait until they go head-to-head.
Even when we've watched KT play, their play isn't as dominating and as decisive as SK Telecom. So there is a there's a visual discrepancy between how they beat their opponents. And I mean, the question is going to be is what happens when all the superstars collide, and that's going to be really fun to watch.
Yeah, so guys, we are going to go straight into the analyst desk and the interview with the MVPs of SK Telecom. So let's jump to that right now. Welcome back, guys. We're here on the analyst desk, and we are going to be interviewing the players of SKT that did manage to get those MVP.
My personal guess is Huni and Faker will be our interviewees.
Yeah, well, was definitely looking that way as Faker puts on a bit of a performance in game number 2, even though he did have a slow start. And a very quick game, one of the quickest ones we've had over here at SPO.TV, just 26 minutes long. And 18,000 gold ahead was SKT towards the end of that one. See the damage, actually. Huni does take the victory in that. That Gangplank was basically left alone the entire game and just farmed up to his heart's content and just did whatever he wanted.
That's right. As a Lulu support main, I shed a little tear up there as I was watching the game, but I think it's a fair reflection of what Lulu support is capable of, which is not much.
Well, it was a nice try. You know, they had to try something different against the Malzahar in bot lane. They're going up against one of the strongest teams, if not the strongest, in Korea right now. So, got to try to mix it up.
So Kanata saying, yeah, we saw a Gangplank picked. Definitely topic of intrigue as to what champion Huni will play next. Coming in, he had a lot of doubts as to whether he could play tank champions, and it looked like SKT was somewhat molding him to be somewhat of a tank champion specialist, but then bringing out the Gangplank, showing us that he still has that trademark aggression in him. So asking how the analysts, what they thought of the match. And Kanata says Faker's Katarina is basically the stronger she gets early on, the stronger she gets later. Of course, that doesn't translate very well into English, but I think it really highlights his snowballing abilities on that champion.
The earlier you get the snowball rolling, the bigger it'll be later on. And that does, it's just, the reads from Faker are unbelievable. It's like he's watching the game in slow motion and he can see Edge begin the ultimate. And he's like, okay, now I can just turn around and it's obsolete.
At the same time, I do have to highlight the Kongdoo monsters. I know we were talking about, they're somewhat laughing before the second set and maybe showed a lack of focus, but I think it really reminds me of when MVP and ESC Ever, the current BBQ Olivers, made it to the LCK last season, especially MVP in there, as Huni has a 14.5 KDA ranking. But MVP specifically saying, we're new at this, we are newly promoted. Every match we have against some of these bigger teams we take as a lesson, and we're not going to have any, hurt feelings over losses. So maybe that's the mentality there.
Good attitude to have.
So it looks like they're about to announce the MVP for this second set. Has to be Faker.
Yeah, I would be surprised if it was not.
And Faker.
Yeah, it's Faker. He did go 7-2-6. Does pick up 100 more points in the MVP category. And as we said before, even though he got a slow start, he was still a wrecking ball towards the end.
That's right. And now we have to wonder whether Faker will be able to play Katarina ever again this season. And then we have to wonder, what will he play if he can't play Katarina? Will we see a mid-Galio that we saw
He can play anything. They're probably going to they're going to flex Ziggs, and he's going to end up playing Ziggs in mid lane. I mean, he could basically do whatever he wants. The Corki was super impressive, too. Now let's hear from our two interviewees.
Huni and Faker, as expected. So as announcer Hyung-kyung says, we will be moving into our MVP interview with Huni and Faker. And this is the second time they're sharing an interview together. And Huni says, I'm a little bit disappointed, would have liked to hog the interview by myself.
일단 훈이 선수 김정균 코치와의 혹시 만화를 보신 적이 있으신가요?
Now, Kanata asking if Huni has read some of the jokes or the cartoons regarding him and Coach Koma. Of course, on the nameless community, starts with an I, ends with Nven.
Einben, I think it's called.
And Hooney says, yes, I always enjoy watching the fans' cartoons and memes.
라는 그런 멘트가 있었는데 오늘 실제로 1세트에서 얼굴을 탔습니다. 그런 그의 만화가 효과가 있는 거였나요?
So Kanata asking, did that maybe help you, help your motivation watching those cartoons? And Hooney says, a lot.
페나트를 그려주신 팬분께도 좀 감사를 표하셔야 될 것
So
같아요.
he thanks the artist who drew the cartoon.
갱플레이 글을 쓸 수 있게끔
Of course, truth be told, it would be a lot easier for us to respond to this if we knew what cartoon he was talking about.
Yeah.
그런 게 있었나요?
좀 탱커 마일리지가 좀 쌓인 것 같아서 이제 좀 마일리지 좀 써서 딜러를 꺼내야 하지 않을까. 뭐 다른 팀들한테도 나 뭐 탱커만 하는 선수 아니다.
그렇죠.
Although Hooney saying, you know, I thought it was about time I bring out a damage dealer like Gangplank because I wanted to send the other teams a message. I could still play these champions, guys. Don't forget about him.
계약 조건에 뭐 딜러를 뭐 몇 번에 한 번 하고 뭐 그런 계약 조건이 또 있는 겁니까?
그렇지는 않고요. 그냥 잘하면 됩니다.
잘하면
Kanata asking, maybe is there a clause in your contract that says, you know, every 10 games you play as a tank, you get to play one DPS champion? But Hooney says no. All I have to do is do a good job.
어마어마하게 뿜어져 나오는 게 느껴집니다. 1세트 뽀삐로 MVP를 받으셨는데 정말 한타 때마다 이니시를 정말 예술처럼 열어주셨거든요.
So Hooney getting that MVP with Poppy in set 1.
하나요?
Asked, where does the shots come from? Where do the commands come from?
많이 나와서 뭐 주도적으로도 할 수 있고 아니면 또 타인의 콜에 의한 뭐 그런 것도 엄청 많이 나오긴 해요.
And Hooney says, you know, whenever my teammates are doing well, it really helps me. It really frees me up, gives me a lot of freedom to make the plays that I want to make.
그 페나트를 그려준 오늘 사실 MVP를 받을 수 있게 된 그 1등 공신이 그 페나트를 그려준 팬일 수 있거든요. 한 말씀 해주실까요?
그런 만화 그려주셔서
So again, going back to that cartoon they were talking about.
탱커를 안 한다는 소문이 많았었는데 뭐 그러기 때문에 그런 만화 잘 봐서
Hooney says, you know, a lot of people think that we don't watch any of those cartoons, but we do, and we appreciate it. So thank you for coming up with the idea. I enjoyed it a lot.
페이커 선수를 한번 만나보겠습니다. 오늘 승리 다시 한번 축하드립니다.
감사합니다. 네.
So moving on to Faker, congratulations on your victory today.
사실 1, 2세트 피넛 선수와 블랭크 선수가 좀 정글러가 바뀐 이후에 픽변이 조금 SKT 색깔이 달라진 느낌이다 이런 얘기들도 있었거든요. 이 두 정글러의 차이를
A lot of people were highlighting the change in style of SKT after Blink subbed in for Peanut.
그냥 좀 후니가 마일리지가 쌓여서 했던 게 큰 것 같아서 뱀픽에는 별로 영향이 없었던 것 같고 뭐 둘 다 스타일이 다르긴 하지만 뭐 저는 둘 다 좀 잘한다고 생각해서
And Faker says, yeah, definitely bringing on a different jungler does result in a slight change of style, but Blank and Peanut, they both have a lot of mileage on them. That's the word he used. And they're both great junglers to play with, so for me, it doesn't really make a difference.
페이커 선수는 남들이 못 보는 킬각을 본다라는 그런 말들이 있잖아요. 처음에 딜 교환할 때 기억나시나요? 그때 페이커식 킬각이었습니까?
2레벨에 사실 좀 제가 그냥 딜교환만 했고요.
Now Kanata asking about that first trade he had with Edge.
약간 좀 실수가 약간 있었던 것 같아요.
That ended up really dangerous for Faker, and Faker says, yeah, definitely, I think I did make a mistake in there somewhere.
하지 마세요 그런 말.
Doesn't happen often, but happened today.
그렇게 둘이 같이 사진을 찍고 싶다고 마지막까지 남아 있었는데 바로 옆에서 좀 이렇게 인터뷰로 만나보니까 좀 어떤가요, 페이커 선수?
여기서까지 만날 줄은
So,
수준인가요?
as we said earlier, Kanata, a former SK Telecom pro gamer, and announcer Hyung-kyung asking, what's it like seeing Kanata again here? And Faker said, oh man, I never expected to see you again.
바로 넘어오게 됐는데.
He's back again.
He's chasing.
또 SKT 선배님 아니십니까?
그게 뭐가 중요합니까? 게임 잘하면 형이.
Helios may be suggesting, you know, Kanata, technically, aren't you his senior? Implying that
페이커 선수가 뭘 잡아도 잘하잖아요.
maybe Faker should pay his respects.
뭘 플레이도 잘하시는데 왜 유독 그분과 함께 할 때는 캡틴 제키와 함께 할 때는
And
왜 그러시는지
Helios also calling out, shout out to his co-caster, Captain Jack.
궁금합니다.
Faker, how come you don't seem to play that well when you play with Captain Jack?
컨디션 약간 우연의 일치인 것 같아요.
네, 오히려 이제 같은
And
팀일 때
Faker
몰라도
returning
다음
the
판에
comments
적으로
saying,
만났을
well, I'm
때는
not sure.
카타르
You know,
그 컨디션이
maybe it might be
회복해서
something wrong with Captain Jack.
좀 우연히도 갑자기 컨디션이 좋아지더라고요.
아, 캡틴 잭을 만나지만 않으면
네, 그래서 좀 그런 것 같아요.
네, 오늘
사랑이
원래
아니라
네,
우연이었습니다.
오려고 했었는데 또 여러 가지 이유로 오지 못했다고
So saying
하네요.
it's a coincidence as well.
네, 우연히 또 모든 것들은 다 우연인 거예요. 그렇습니다.
네, 캡잭 선수 좋다 말았겠네요. 네. 자, 이렇게 해서 오늘 경기에서도 이 두 분이 굉장한 화력으로 승리를 가져가 주셨는데요. 페이커 선수 마지막으로 팬들에게도 한 말씀 해주시죠.
So finally, Faker, what would you like to say to the fans?
Everybody stayed, by the way. And they're standing up in the arena. Everybody.
선두를 유지하는 모습 보여드리고 싶네요. 네, 앞으로도 많이 응원해 주셨으면 좋겠습니다.
So he wishes that everybody, all the players in SK Telecom are working hard to maintain their current form and ask for a lot of your support. Thank you. And that's it for our MVP interview.
So there you have it. I think that's going to just about wrap up the day for us.
For our first match, we had MVP 2-1 victory over the Africa Freaks, and like we just saw SK Telecom with a 2-0 victory over the Kongdoo Monster.
Yeah, wiped the floor with them, made it look easy. So the next matchup we are going to have is going to be on Tuesday. Of course, that will be over here at Spot TV once again with me and LS. And I think they're saying it right now. I actually am not 100% sure about what it is, but you guys can catch that online. Maybe they'll show it here. Well, we're going to go into the standings first.
One final look at the standings before we go.
So KT Rolster and SKT up at the top. No surprise there. Africa, Samsung, Longju, and MVP kind of chilling in the middle, 1-1. Also BBQ Olivers and Rocks Tigers at 1-1. And Kongdoo Monster and the Generic Green Wings down at 0-2.
So finally, to pick up where you left off, announcer Hyung-kyung saying the LCK broadcast will be back on Sunday, not tomorrow. Unfortunately, we don't have LCK on Monday.
Oh, you mean Tuesday, right?
Yes.
We're gonna have that on Tuesday, so definitely go ahead and join us for that, guys. Should be a fun matchup, no doubt.
Final question to what Kanata thought of the matches today.
MVP의 명경기를 보게 됐는데 확실히 보다 더 선수들의 경기가 그리고 챔피언 폭이 넓어지는 느낌을 받아서
And Kanata says he definitely feels like the players' champion pools are increasing. We're seeing a lot more diversity. And Helios says, yeah, we definitely saw things like Shyvana and Zillion today. Definitely did not expect those.
성공했다라는 얘기도 굉장히 많아요. 그런 부분에서 앞으로 좀 더 재밌게 많이 발전하는 LCK가 되었으면 하고.
So we can't wait for the LCK to continue evolving.
맨날 같은 클로징 멘트를.
영광이거든요, 굉장히.
And it's an honor to be casting this wonderful league.
네, 좋습니다.
Yeah, it's been awesome so far. I've been enjoying myself as well. And I think that is going to wrap it up for us on the analyst desk. So from everybody here at Spot TV, we'll see you on Tuesday. And have a good time until then. See you guys later.